Algorithmic steps are good. Asterisk. Right, so a few days ago I made a video about the viability of Petrus and Mehta, and let's just say that the amount I talked about Mehta was lackluster. I mean, okay, truth be told, I couldn't think of much to say on the spot, and I wanted to get that video out that day. I wonder why. So this is going to be a more sort of in-depth look into why I don't really like the Mehta method. I'm only going to talk about Mehta TDR in this video, because that's sort of the OO variant, and when we start moving out into option select it gets a lot harder to compare things, so if we're just playing it by the book, Mehta TDR is the way to go. This is also part of the reason why method comparison is dumb in the first place, because option select will always be better, people will always learn tricks and do option select, so just standard method comparison kind of sucks, but I'm going to do it anyway. A little bit of background though, I'm not just some random guy who hates Mehta as it's the new method on the block. When I first found out about the method I was actually really excited, and I was into it for about a week or two. I was quite invested, I was practicing it, I had a session for it, and I've really fallen out of love with it since. So I have a little bit of a note sheet here, so let's talk about Mehta step by step. The first step we have is first block. It's perfectly fine, right? It's just like Rue first block, you got a nice move count, average of 7. You know, it's fine. Ergonomics, I mean, you're building on the D layer, but the ergonomics, they still aren't a problem. It's still no worse than Rue first block. That method's fine. 3/4 block is awkward. I mean, you get some things like, oh, like you do an R2 then an R then R2. That's actually not really a problem. It's R2 prime R roll R2. It's really, like, those things aren't an issue. It can be hard to transition from your first step into 3/4 belt, and RU and wide U just isn't a nice move set. You can do things like using your left hand for wide U while you're adjusting your right hand to regrip and stuff like that, but that's not a one-size-fits-all, be-all, end-all solution. That's a fix sometimes. I mean, 3/4 belt, you know, it's fairly simple, it's easy enough to look ahead through, but yeah, okay, the actual turning is a little bit weird. EOLE. Okay, look, I'll loop back around, I'll talk more about EOLE in a minute, but I'm just going to put it out there. EOLE is 50 algorithms. TDR, again, I'll loop back and talk about it again in a minute, but TDR is 350 algorithms. Let's draw a comparison. Okay, look, I'm one of those people that can't talk about Mehta without comparing it to Petrus. Okay, so I have a cube for Petrus and a cube for Mehta. Here we have with Petrus a 2x2x2 block. Here I have with Mehta a very particular cube state. It's not 3/4 belt, in fact I'm one move off of that. This would be, you know, 3/4 belt done. But with one edge off of 3/4 belt, we have a pseudo 2-2-3 around here. So what we now have is two different types of 2x2x3 block, and I'm going to compare the solution to the rest of the F2L through Petrus and Mehta. Right, so with Petrus, our first step here will be edge orientation. Block on back is the main way to do Petrus, so we have this. EO is a good step, it's algorithmic, but all of the algorithms are really intuitive. I made a note of it. There are 23 algorithms in total, but I went through and I determined that 13 of them were trivial, leaving 10 non-trivial but still intuitive algs. Now, the line between trivial and intuitive varies from person to person. That's just how I found them to be. This one to me was trivial. That's a 4 mover there. The average move count for EO is 4.78. Okay, so with Mehta, the first thing we need to do is actually finish the 3/4 belt. In this case, it's a 1 mover. I've thrown around some numbers with people on ZMS and I asked the Meta Sofa, and I decided to settle for 3 move count. This is the move count in this whole thing that's up for debate. Everything else is pretty much set. But this, I'm not so sure on this. I could be convinced it's higher or lower, but 3 is what we're going with for now. So 3 moves to put that last edge in, and then you have EOLE. Let me grab the alg for this, actually, I don't know any Mehta. RU R prime, RU, this looks like RU sledge R prime. Okay, the average move count for EOLE is 5.61. if you actually look at the meta option select sheet that they don't have the full move count for EOLE, but they have the move count for every set. So I added up those numbers, the average for each set, divided by the amount of sets. I came out with 5.61 for EOLE as an overall ALG set. So we have 23 ALGs and 4.7 move count for Petrus, and 50 ALGs with a 5.6 move count plus 2 or 3 for last edge. And now comes the bigger block building step. Now with Petrus, it's a little bit harder to define a move count. It's an intuitive step after all. We ran a few Harks simulations, not on just right block. We split it into 2 steps to slow down the computer optimal move count machine. So by, doing that to artificially lower the move count, it should bring it closer to a kind of human self. We split it into square and pair. So it would build a square in the back with the cross edge and an F2L pair, and then it would do the last F2L pair. The average move count we got from that was 13.91. This left Petrus with a full move count of 18.69 at the cost of 23 ALGs, most of which are trivial. Am I really about to search for the TDR ALG for this? Fine, I'll do it. Right, so it has to be like R. Right, so this one's R2 prime, R2 RD, prime 2R. Cool. So meta TDR. The TDR step, it's some algorithmic block building. Of course, you already have all of the edges solved, so you're just solving 2 corners of an edge. 350 ALGs and an average move count. I didn't average them myself, I'm taking the word of what I've seen claimed, which is 10.5. Could be higher, could be lower, but I've seen claims with 10.5 moves. So with that, Meta has 19.11 moves in full with 400 ALGs. So here we can see that Petrus, not only having less ALGs, also has a lower move count. People say Petrus is bad because of stuff like ergonomics, right? It's hard to turn fast with Petrus. Look, Meta, some of the ALGs are really nice. Some of the ALGs are really nice, especially when you don't look at TDR. But TDR also has some whack ALGs. Some TDR ALGs are alright without a regrip, but you really want to regrip into them. And I don't like it when I want to regrip. And then EOLE has some pretty whack ALGs too. Also, shout out to the meta people for doing my job to me and highlighting the bad EOLE ALGs. You made this so much easier. And, the last step of meta is ZBLL. Yeah, whatever, that's fine. Another thing I quickly want to mention is that meta move count is often proclaimed as being like low 40s because of some like insane Hark simulations. The move count that Hark spits out isn't normally viable for speed solving, so I don't think meta has that low 40s move count that often gets claimed as having. But finally, we arrive here at my single biggest gripe with the meta method. Look, when you ask people how to improve, you'll get a lot of different answers, right? So people say you have to practice specific steps and get better at those. Some people say you have to practice different skills and get better at those. The answer is it's a mix of the two. But let's talk about the different types of steps you'll encounter, right? Because the different steps draw more on different skill sets, right? Intuitive steps, they normally come at the start of solves, so they require inspection, they require look ahead, they require efficiency because you'll need good solutions, right? And then you'll have algorithmic steps, which require recognition, recall, and execution. So how do you get better? Well, intuitive steps usually take quite a lot of time. They often take up the majority of the solve. So practicing efficiency, inspection, and look ahead can often shave off a lot of time. Algorithmic steps, well, recognition and recall should be pretty much like on the spot anyway. So you really just have execution. You have to drill ALGs. Now when you practice look ahead, you practice look ahead for almost every case that you can encounter on that intuitive step. When you drill an ALG, you drill that one ALG. Algorithmic steps are good. Asterisk. Alright, look. Asterisk. Algorithmic steps can be fast, but they take a lot of effort to get fast. Low algorithm methods can be good, right? Rue's good because you have like a CML, 42 ALGs, you can drill that to be fast. Base ZZ has 28. You can drill those to perfection. Right, look, I'm going to go back to comparing Mehta with Petrus, right? Petrus will have 493 ZBLLs if you learn full soon and anti-soon, which you probably won't, so you could knock off like 140 there, but I'm not going to. 493 ZBLLs, 23 EOLs. You have like, what, like 516 ALGs? Then you look at Mehta. If you look at Mehta TDR, you have EOLE at 50, TDR at 350, and then you have ZBLL at 493. So, how do you improve at Petrus? You improve your planning, so you can plan 2x2x3 in inspection. You improve your look ahead throughout right block and also throughout your execution of that 2x2x3, so that you can transition into your EO seamlessly. You get comfortable with your EO algs so that you can do them on the spot. That's the drilling part. You get good at right block solutions, you become more efficient. You drill your ZBLLs, that's another drilling part. How do you get better at Mehta? Well, you practice efficiency and being able to inspect your first block, that's all intuitive stuff. You practice look ahead into 3/4 belt, and throughout 3/4 belt. But 3/4 belt is a fairly easy step, so you can only improve that so much. Then you have to improve your EOLE by drilling ALGs, 50 of them. Then you have to improve your TDR by drilling ALGs, 350 of them. Then you have to improve your ZBLL by drilling ALGs, 493 of them. One of the few merits that, like actual merits, the few of the good things that ZZCT has over ZZA is that it has so many less ALGs so that you can drill them, and it'll take a lot less effort and time put in to get up to speed with all of your ALG set than it will for ZBLL. Mehta has this been reverse. It has so many more ALGs than any competitor method that you have to drill so many more. Because look, you don't know what TDR you're going to get. So if you want to improve your execution speed at TDR, which is pretty much the only thing that exists, it's an algorithmic step, recognition and recall should be on the spot. And if they're not, get them there first. But from there on, improving from, having good recognition and recall, you just have to execute it faster. And you don't know which one of the 350 algs you're going to get when you start the solve. You're going to have to drill all of them. And that's before you get to ZBLL. ZBLL, the big ALG set, the notorious big ass ALG set. That's before you even get to it. But there you go. I don't like Mehta because its ergonomics are funky, its move count is higher than you would expect. I don't think the proposed move count that you see float around is accurate, and it has so many ALGs that the time commitment to getting faster at any one of the 3 algorithmic steps is unreasonable in my mind. But as an ending message, if you want to use Mehta because you enjoy the method, then go for it. I don't want to stop you. Cubing is a hobby before all else, and I, of all people, think you should cube for fun more than you should for speed. I know I do.